coming up.
I don't see many other people doing. It's by far the most powerful thing I've ever discovered in my recruitment career. We've been doing it for 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
Roles at different times. There's no question, habits are probably one of the most powerful thing anyone can do to change their life.
Oh, yeah, agree.
And the compounding effect of them is insane. And some of them become such a habit that you don't even realize you're doing them anymore, right? And that's kind of when you've really nailed that habit. So if you are looking to change jobs or if you're worried, you need to be embracing AI. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone needs to go on and build a agent on Manus or become a Claude coder or vibe coding or any of that stuff. If you want to do that, fantastic, go for it in your life. And it's easier than you think. But you need to start embracing it and you need to start learning about it. You need to start reading about it and you need to start using it. And if you don't, then you are in danger of falling so far behind because it's moving so quickly.
Okay.
It will be very tricky to catch up. But it's been a hell of a journey, and I think it's maybe a great example of believing you can do something even when there's absolutely no right or reason that you should be able to.
Steve Grace. Yeah, let's rock and roll. Steve Grace, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on here. And to be honest there, Steve, I'm very excited about this conversation. It's a conversation that I think, for me, it's one of those where you were on you were on my list of people who I want to have on.
How did I get on your list?
It was actually funny because what happened was I've been seeing some of your content, but then it wasn't until I saw the episode with David Kenny, a mutual contact of ours, and I was like going. And I listened to the episode of David's podcast, and I was like going, wow, like I really do want to have Steve on, and I sort of said to myself, I said, oh look, it's a bit of a long shot.
Why would it be a long shot?
Oh well, I mean, for pardon me, I think for me, it was always, I think the way how I sort of look at it, it's like the top, like the way how I look at it is like, a very small podcast. Someone there who's,
love a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll go on any podcast.
Oh, that's
honestly, I don't think anything. I think when it comes to podcast guests, nothing's a long shot.
Okay.
I think anyone who's running their own podcast, just ask whoever the hell you want to ask.
Yeah.
Sure, some are going to say no. But you'd be amazed how many people will say yes, and I bet it's a lot more than say no.
Yeah, that's actually very funny because I actually met David Kenny actually on at Open Coffee at a networking event where he was doing a fireside chat, and when he was talking about doing that he was doing his own podcast at the time, I actually did not actually think that I could actually get David on, and then when I spoke with David at the event, and then when I spoke with him after it, when he said yes, I was like going, oh wow, like so yeah, it's actually very.
He likes to talk.
Oh, David's great. David is great. Like it's one like he's one of those people there where like you can always reach out to him and you can always he can give you the feedback so like very, very well, and it's all about with him the execution, and that's one of the things that what I really even now, even like with my podcast and even like with like future ventures as well, is I always go back to listening to David and always just trying to think, like, okay, this is the process now. Here's the process now. Just get on with it. The epic execution. So that's sort of the bit there. So
good book that.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a few authors that I've actually had on here. I've had Gunnar with his Lead Not Manage, as well as and he's also doing another book called LinkedIn for Startups very, very soon, and also another one there of closed circuit selling. So yeah, so I've had a few authors on, but I'm very excited to have you on there, Steve, to sort of sit down and just talk about like basically everything that's going on and basically everything there from how you got to where you are. I mean, we were talking off air that you were saying there that you are English, and
I am.
Yes, I mean, I got to ask a question there first. Who do you follow in the Ashes there? Is it Australia or England when the Ashes are on?
It's funny, everyone always asks that question. That or the rugby team. It's one or the other. No one ever asks about soccer or any other sport. Well, it's always about rugby or cricket.
Well, I think with soccer or European football, as football as everyone calls it over there, I think it's the fact that Australia, obviously we just had the recent World Cup, but I think because the Socceroos aren't
very good.
I'll say, I mean, look, we are good, but I don't see us contending anytime
Hey, look,
soon.
English football team is not contended for a long, and I'm not going to get into why, but they did the same thing this tournament as they did. But in answer to your question,
Yeah.
and so everybody knows. So I left the UK when I was 25.
Yep.
I am now 52. Right?
wow.
So I have lived here longer. But actually, when I say I left when I was 25, I was literally about 3 weeks away from being 26. So I was 25.
Wow.
But so I've pretty much been here as much as I've been there.
Wow.
But obviously, my adult life has all been here. However, ultimately, I am British. I was born in Britain.
Yep.
I have dual citizenship. I have both passports. But I will always support England against Australia and then Australia against anyone else. And that will never change. Much to both my children's dismay, that will never change.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, I think I'm kind of a bit of the opposite. Like, for me, like obviously, you know, because I'm an Aussie born and bred, like, I'll always follow Australia. But when it's England versus, like, other countries, I'll follow England just because one of my all-time favourite international cricketers is Joe Root. Like, I absolutely love like, no, but I could sit there and just watch Joe Root bat for hours because I think his technique is very sublime. So that's kind of where I just sort of look at that there. But what made you actually want to go from, you know, the doom and I won't say the doom and gloom weather, but the weather of the UK where it rains almost nearly every couple of days. I mean, that's what I've seen there in the test matches, especially when Australia play over there. But from there to sunshine Australia.
Look, it wasn't a conscious decision to move here. Like a lot of British, I decided to come here.
Oh yeah.
For a period of time. That was the intention, right? So I was working in London. I've been working in London about 5 years. Personally, myself, I'm a very solar-powered human being.
Okay.
I like outside. I like the ocean. I like the water. I like the sunshine. I like the heat. I hate the cold. I hate the rain. And so, obviously, growing up in the UK, you know, you live in the cold and the rain a lot of the time. Not so much now with these heat waves that never occurred when I lived there. But also, I felt really burnt out in London. I was working in the city of London in the square miles, working crazy hours. The lifestyle there is not what I would call conducive to health.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, a lot of drinking, not great food, you know, that's just not a lot of sleeping. It's just, that's just how the culture was back then. I'm not so sure if it's the same now. I fear it probably is. So I decided to just approach a few companies and got offered about 5 or 6 jobs.
Oh, wow. That's really
back in the day when it was very, very easy to emigrate here.
Yeah.
Came here for a year to 2, you know, on a working holiday visa. Never been. Obviously seen it, you know, Great Barrier Reef, all that kind of shenanigans. And I'd seen a program on what Sydney was like maybe a year before. And I probably didn't realise, as a lot of British didn't back then, Sydney was a proper city. Now, it wasn't London, but it was a proper city. And I think the appeal of being able to have a job and the beach within reach of each other was huge to me. So I came over, and then I never left.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's like a lot.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good point there. I mean, like, you actually sort of see, like, as you said there, you know, the city and the beach. You know, I mean, like, even just here now with the sports teams. I mean, like, people sort of say there, like, when it's I think over at Allianz Stadium or what used to, near the SCG. I'll say the SCG because I can't remember the new name.
No, it's Allianz. That's right.
Still Allianz?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Because as they would say there is that when you go to the SCG or when you go to Allianz, you can go into the city. Like, you can actually make you can make a trip out of it. You can make it into the evening. You can, you know, like once the game's finished, you can go off. You can go and go somewhere else and all that sort of stuff there. And I think that's something there is good for work life and business if you're in the city there as well, because, you know, like, you can go. I mean, like, if you're in the Sydney CBD and whatnot, like, I mean, like, I was there yesterday. I was at the Pillars, which, by the way, very, very good place.
Thank you.
I've been there twice there, Steve. Very good place. It looks stunningly gorgeous, but you can see the bit there that always gets me when I always see the Sydney CBD, when people ask me, oh, why do I want to commute into the CBD and whatnot? Why do I love it? Is because when I go through the train, I can see the Harbour Bridge. I can see the Opera House. It's like all those, you know, it's like all those sorts of things there. So I think it's something there where it's like, you know, you can might not be you can call them the perks, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think for me, look, the opportunities in Sydney are nothing like the opportunities you're going to get in London or New York or something like that. but the balance of still being able to have great opportunities
Yeah.
and be able to live next to the beach and
Yeah.
have the weather and have that natural balance that comes. People talk a lot about work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
Now, that depends on where you are in life, and I've talked a lot about work-life balance, and it's different for everybody. For me, it's just the ability to be able to do both things that I love, which is something outside, something in sunshine, something by the
Yeah.
beach, something in the water, but also have an opportunity to have a more than decent career. And look, and Sydney's changed so much in the last 26 years. My God, compared to when I arrived, it's way, way more sophisticated and continues to grow.
Yeah.
But it'll just never have the same level of opportunities because of the geographical location. But that's okay. You give up that for the pluses of the other side of it. And to me, that's worth it. Now, to others, it's not. People leave and go to New York or London because they're more career focused. I think I like the balance. I like being able to have both.
Yeah, I think it's more of that give or take in the terms of a deal. It's like, it's a win, it's a win-win, I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, people always sort of, and this is one thing here to which, I'm one of those people there when it comes to businesses, or when you're trying to sort of say, okay, look, you know what, let's try and make a deal or whatever, or let's try and do a partnership or a paid promotion or whatever. I'm always one of those people there that just sort of says, let's just get it done. Yeah. I can't stand the haggling. I can't stand the, if they say, oh, look, we'll pay, you pay us, I don't know, $350 to reach out to your members or whatnot for a month or whatever. But if we say, no, look, obviously we got to stick within budget to be around, $250 or $300 and whatnot. For me, I just say well, I'd rather just pay the extra 50 or the extra 100, get it done. Sure, look, what, it might look bad on our balance sheet, but at the end of the day, look, what, I don't want to be standing around here for 2-3 weeks trying to haggle over a couple $100, especially when you got other stuff going on. So I think of it, when you think of it like that there in the deal like this here, I think it's a lot better. I think it's, as you said there, the job opportunities might not be as good, say, as over in New York.
I think there's just not as many. I think
not as
many.
Just as
good. I just think,
but I think it pays off.
Many.
Yeah, but I think it pays off because you have the Sydney lifestyle. You have the
you do.
You have the beach. You have you have your teams here in Sydney. You follow. There are teams there that they you have your rugby league teams here that you can follow. You have your AFL teams here. Although I don't follow a Sydney AFL team, I'm a massive Hawthorn supporter. So down there in Melbourne, but So
I think it depends what you want. I did 5 years in London. I loved it. It's an amazing place. I did a very short bit of time in a few other cities, but for me, it worked. I think for other people, it won't. Places are different. I've obviously had a family here. I don't think there's a better place in the world to bring up children other than Australia. It's so safe. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit idyllic and unrealistic to the rest of the world, but what an amazing place to have a childhood. So it's just about choice. But I think if I'd grown up here, I probably would have ended up gravitating to London or New York for a period of time, because I think working in those cities, there's nothing like it. It's just wild.
Yeah, for me, I've always wanted to go to London. That's always been a bucket list on mine, to go a little bit, maybe in the next couple of years or something there, or if an opportunity ever arises to go to London or something, I would always take that opportunity. But yeah, I think you are right. It sort of has that reverse effect, because for us that grew up here, we want to. Because we're so isolated from the rest of the world, we want to be part of the rest of the world. Whereas for those that have been part of the rest of the world, so to speak, they want to be, they want that isolation a little bit. But so you've worked in so many different sorts of businesses, and you've even started up a couple as well.
I have.
And you've also just you've recently, with the Pillars, as well as also with Nudge Group. But what is one habit or skill do you think is the most important one? And what did you go about to actually try and develop it? Or how did you go about trying to enhance it or develop it or whatever? Was it something there like reading? Did you have to read more? Was it just general practice, or was it just?
I think I've had different habits based off what I'm trying to achieve. Like I said, 52, right? So I've had very different goals at different times. There's no question, habits are probably one of the most powerful thing anyone can do to change their life.
Oh, yeah, great.
And the compounding effect of them is insane. And some of them become such a habit that you don't even realize you're doing them anymore, right? And that's kind of when you've really nailed that habit. I think The habits I have now are different to the habits I had when I started my first business back in 2003, I think it was.
Yeah.
Long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So to when I had my second business, to when I had my third business, they've all been different. I think all those businesses have had different outcomes. I've learnt. I think a lot for me has been trying to get rid of habits, the bad habits, more so than improving the good ones. But the way I live my life has changed. I think the key thing with habits is looking at what you're trying to achieve right now.
Okay.
And creating a habit that's going to help you do that. And then looking at what you want to achieve really long term and create a habit. And don't try and create too many habits at once. Like 1 or 2 is enough, if not just one. But I always try and have 2 new ones. One that's going to be a long term thing and one that's going to be sort of an immediate thing because your goals vary.
Okay.
But they can be anything. I mean, it can be anything from getting up at a certain time. It can be anything from writing things down. I'm not a big journaler. I don't write a lot, but I do write things in apps and things like that in small notes. It can be reading. There's a period of time when I've read a lot. It can be podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts for a period of time. It can be exercise. It can be food. It can be sleep. It can be routine. There's so many different things. They don't need to be complex.
Yep.
The key is to make them easy.
Yep.
Because if they're not easy, they'll never become habits.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say there's one. I do think that the most powerful one I think I've discovered, that maybe I discovered 3-4 years ago only, was reflecting on what you've achieved. And I've talked about this quite a few times. I read a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy called The Gap and the Gain. Amazing book, right? Probably had the most impact on me than any other book. And I've had quite a lot of books that have had impact on me. And he talks about particularly founder mentalities, high performers, CEOs, whatever you want to call them, right? People who are striving for a goal. He talks about those people that are always striving for that next goal and always setting targets and always setting goals. And everyone knows the positivity of that. Sometimes have a sense of not achieving anything because they never take the time to look back. Now, I'm not suggesting we all sit there, pat ourselves on the back and go, oh my God, we're amazing. But the key thing and journaling is apparently the key for that. And like I said, I'm not a journaler, right?
Me neither.
So the key thing that I've taken out of that is the most simple thing in the world. And it's incredibly powerful. And I've actually dropped out of the habit of it recently, and I was annoyed with myself because I realized last week I've started doing it again. But every day I write down, and I actually just punched this into my notes app on my phone.
Yep.
I write down the 3 things I want to do that day, the 3 most important things I want to achieve that day, whatever they are. Could be anything. Could be eat lunch at the right time. It could be send a bunch of resumes out. It could be start a business. It could be have a conversation with someone. It could be anything, right? So I write down the 3 things that I really want to achieve that day.
Yep.
And then off I go. And then before I go to bed, I open that back up and I look at those things and I see if I've achieved them. Now, the key thing here is if I haven't achieved them and I knew I wanted to achieve them, I will be annoyed at myself because I was like, damn, I wanted to do that. But that's the wrong way to look at it. And this is what I learned. What I do now is I write down the 3 things I did that day that had the most impact. Right? Now, I look at the 3 things I did that had the most impact, and some of them may have been on that list or may have not, but some of them may have just things that have risen or opportunities that have come up in the day. Yeah. Now, if the things that I've done have had more impact than the things that I wanted to do, I had a bloody good day, even though I didn't do the 3 things I wanted to do. I had probably a better day because I had more impact than I would have.
Yeah, that's actually a good...
And then I write those 3 things down for the next day, and sometimes they're the same. If I didn't do any of them, sometimes they're different. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that you're reflecting and giving your brain a signal that actually you had a fucking cracking day.
Yeah.
And you did some things that had massive impact, and you couldn't have had more impact based off what you were going to achieve. So you can go to bed content. That simple thing really helps rewire your brain in a way that makes you feel calmer, like you're achieving more. Human beings like to achieve. They like to get things done. They get a sense of satisfaction out of it.
Yep.
And if they feel they haven't done what they should, they go to bed or they go to sleep, not upset, but they're not necessarily feeling as complete. They might not even sleep as well. It might prey on their mind.
Yep.
If you go to bed going, the 3 things I did had the most impact. Wow, what a day. Boom. You're out like a light.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, because recently from around mid-April, I sort of said to myself, okay, I want to walk at least 20,000 steps a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, actually, it's actually a lot less than what my mentor does. He walks about 35,000 steps a day.
35,000?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you walk to work, you'd have to.
yeah, like he's the founder of the charity Step Into Action, which is all about walking
So
and
he's
movement.
living the dream in terms of his charity. That's good.
Yeah, but I had to sort of stop for a couple of weeks because it was sort of going a little bit too it sort of was going a little bit too hard on the feet and whatnot and like there. So I sort of had to take a couple of weeks off. But what you just sort of said there is that when you don't achieve it, because like just recently, because I remember in those weeks there when I couldn't walk what I mean by that there is walking like those many steps when I could only walk like say 8, 9, 10,000 steps. I sort of would look at them and go, you know what, that's still good, but I would walk before that, 20,000 steps.
Well, you've got to look at what else you did. Did you do something that day that prevented you walking the extra 10,000 but had more impact on your life? If so, it's not a bad day.
Yeah,
if you sat on your ass watching Netflix, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, if you walked, let's say, but if I walked, say, like those 10,000 steps, like you are right, because like there was a period of time there where I think I walked 4,000, where I walked like 4,000 steps, but I was like going, okay, look, you know what? Sure, I walked using your mindset, like thinking back on it, walking those 4,000 steps, or I think that was in like for 2 hours, but then once I got in, I was then doing some foundation work, and the funny thing was that because we're doing an event that's happening in October, I sent out a couple of emails, and then I was like going, and I'm like going, oh wow, like we got this. So I'm like going, that's actually a lot better because while yes, the 4,000 steps I did, from 6 till 8, from 6 till 8 in the morning was good for my health. This one here is actually a little bit good there because it's actually getting the foundation good and all that sort of stuff there. So I think I agree with that there. But what you said there is when people go to bed a bit annoyed or they don't sleep as well. I do remember that those first early nights was getting into the habit of actually trying to get to those steps as well. So there were moments there where I'd be walking around, where I was walking at like 9 o'clock at night, like just
trying to hit your target.
Just trying to hit the target. And that's where I was like 9, 10. One time it was like because one time it was like 30 minutes before I had to go to bed, which was around like 10:45 is like when I like to go to bed. And I was like 10:15. I'm like going, okay, come on, I got 30 minutes. I got to get like the X amount of steps in. So I think the way as to how you sort of look at it in retrospect with your way is thinking of like is what you did today just as good or if not better, and if it is better, then it's like going, okay, well that's okay, well then that's the model, and then these ones here can be sort of like your add-ons and sort of.
And I think even if you don't do something, like if you do waste your time, and we all have bad days where we waste time, right? I think the key thing there is, don't beat yourself up about it and lie there worrying about it. It's happened. Move on. Write it down for the next day. Just acknowledge it and carry on. Again, it's just acknowledging it. You're not sitting there worrying it, going, why didn't I do that? What did I waste my time doing? At least you know the 3 things you did do. And even if they weren't as impactful as the 3 things you were going to do, you know you had some impact. It wasn't a wasted day. It could have been better. Sure, we're always going to have days that could have been better. But you did do something. And I think for me, it settles the brain.
Yes.
And then you get a good sleep. And we all know good sleep compounding, because bad sleep compounding has a huge impact on our lives. So.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing there, what I have sort of gotten myself into that habit now of doing is making sure I get my steps in at least before 8 o'clock. I always make sure that, okay, whatever my step counter is on my phone by 8 o'clock, whether or whatever, that's it. That's it. There were times there where I'd be walking, where I'd be like doing all my foundation work, and I'd just be walking up and down and just doing it on my tablet. Because it'd be a lot more easier, rather than sitting down at my desk and all that sort of stuff there. So that's why it's a lot more easier. But does that mean that should you also be surrounding yourself by people who um, hold you accountable to that, or should it be just like, or should it just be like for example, like, okay, look, you know what, these are my goals. I'm going to set them. I'm going to hold myself to account, or should it be like holding yourself, or having people around you that hold themselves to account, or finding good people? Should it like
good people's essential? I mean, I think having someone that you're accountable to. Everyone is different. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I think part of the whole thing is making yourself accountable. That
Yep.
could be one of the things you have to do, and that could go on your list every day. Like the list can literally be anything. So I think the accountability thing you probably have to build into your own life.
Yep.
But I think having good people around you is essential. Now, they say you're the sum of the 5 people you're around, and you're a product of your proximity, and all these things, right? And I absolutely 100% believe in that. I think the other thing that people need to remember, though, is, if you only hang out with people who you're aspiring to be, I think that's very limiting. And the reason I say this is I think it's an amazing thing to do, and you should do it as much as you physically can. But if you're going to achieve anything yourself in life, you're going to need a team, and you're going to need a team to do it, right? So you're going to need to hang out with people who are helping you achieve your goals and hopefully achieving their goals at the same time. So they don't necessarily need to be people you aspire to be in terms of their achievements. They need to be people you aspire to be in terms of their personality and how they hold themselves and that kind of stuff. So it's not always about, okay, I'm just going to hang out a whole bunch of billionaires, or I'm going to hang out with a whole bunch of business owners. It's about hanging out with people who you aspire to be in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
It could be the way they hold themselves. It could be the way they dress. It could be the way they treat their children. It doesn't really matter. And I think everyone tends to assign that to just business achievement, and it shouldn't be. It should be those 5 people, 10 people, 15, as many as you can get, really, should be living their life in a way that you admire and believe in and want to be more like or emulate. And ideally, you're also all aligned towards trying to achieve the same sort of things, because I think that just breeds energy.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree with that, because I think that when you have people around you that are sort of like wanting to achieve the same goals, or like not so much wanting to achieve the same goals, but people there that want to achieve their own goals and are going in their own way. It's sort of you could almost sort of say it's a bit infectious. I mean, like for me, as you said there, when it comes to holding yourself accountable, like I'm one of those people there that's like, if someone said to me, because a friend of mine actually wanted to try this a couple of weeks ago, where he said to me, let's try and do an accountability thing, like let's have accountability sessions. And I sort of said to him, no, I'm not really sort of into that, because for me, I'm one of those people there where it's like, where I'm sort of one of those people that he puts a lot more pressure on himself, or he puts a lot more onus on himself. And it's like, whereas like if someone else says to me, why didn't you achieve this? Like, what have you achieved today? Why didn't you achieve it? And all that sort of stuff there. For me, or saying to me, oh, come on, kids, like let's go and achieve this today. For me, it'd be almost like a water off a duck's back. Whereas if it's me saying it, why didn't I achieve it? Or come on, come on, Kieran, like why didn't you get 18,000 steps by 8 p.m. Or could you have sent out 10 more emails? Could you have made 6 more phone calls? Or could you have done this? Or could you have done that? I sit there and I sort of lull over it, but whereas if someone else sort of does it, it's not as impactful.
Try not to lull over it would be my advice. I would try and acknowledge it, and then just try and do better. But don't lull on it. Like I think don't get bad on yourself. You're not going to be perfect every day.
Yeah,
in fact, probably never going to be perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you just acknowledge it and go, okay, well, I'm going to make a much more concentrated effort to not do that again, and this is what I'm going to do to try and help myself do that. And then off you go, you move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's fair. And I mean, it's something that what one of my friends actually said to me is always try and be better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Try and be better than yesterday. And that's something there which I think I've always sort of tried to take since he said that, I mean, that's something there which what I've always tried to take in, I mean, if I walk 22,000 steps, sure, I can't walk 22,000 steps every day because, I mean, like you could, but it could, but your body would break down pretty quickly for some people. But But did I do just as good, or was I at least better in the right mindset? Was I better in, other different things? Was I better in my health? Was I better with my family? Was I better with, with my career? Was I better with something else for today? So that's something there. Should you, when it comes to trying to start a business then, and when it comes to founders and entrepreneurs, how important is do you need to have the good people, or do you need to have the right people? So
in your team?
In your team. So my question,
the right people.
So and that's sort of the question there.
The right people are hopefully good.
That's the thing there, because there are some good people there who I think you need to surround you, because there are people there when you set up with teams, you need to make sure you have a good connection with that there, but you also don't need to have, in my opinion, groupthink. You don't need, you shouldn't have groupthink, or you need to have people, in my opinion, I won't say too many questions, but you need to have them sort of asking, not questioning every single decision that you do. That's wrong, but you need to sort of ask them, and people who's asking those questions and saying to them, what about this, or what about that,
challenging you.
Yeah, challenging.
So I think that comes down to you. I think, you just mentioned a book, Lead Not Manage, right?
Yes.
If you lead,
yep,
you create an environment where everyone is collaborative. If you manage, you don't.
Yeah.
So if you manage people, they won't question you. They'll do what you tell them most of the time. If you lead people, you don't even need to ask them to ask you. You've just created an environment where that happens naturally. And that's exactly what that book's about, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of founders out there that are command and conquer. You do need an ego to be a founder. It's about getting the balance right. Everyone has their role. It's such a complicated question. You can't sort of knock it out. But I do think creating an environment where people can talk about things openly without feeling like they're going to be judged or in trouble is essential.
Yep.
But the number one thing to being successful as a founder or working in a startup is belief.
Yeah.
It really is. And I know that's a very wishy-washy answer, in that it's everyone believes, but everyone goes through self-doubt and all those kinds of things. But it's an unwavering, and when you say unwavering, that doesn't mean you never doubt it. It just means you always come back to believing. Yeah. It's an unwavering belief that what you're doing and why you're doing it is the right thing. So you need a reason for doing it. You can't just do it, and everyone says you can't just do it for make money. Now, sometimes I think you can. I think some people succeed. I haven't, but I think some people succeed because their goal is to make money. Now, they may not succeed as greatly as someone who's trying to solve a global problem, but they can succeed to a point. So I think that's okay. I don't think it's the best way to be, but I think it's okay. I think ultimately it won't bring the happiness that they want. But there's, I'm not judging anyone here. But as long as you've got a reason for doing something, and you believe you can, a problem usually, or something that has annoyed you, and you believe you can solve it, and you believe you are the right person to solve that, and you can create an environment where other people can help you do that, I think you've done probably 80% of getting there. I mean, doing the work is obviously key.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just sit there and go, this is going to happen. I mean, not that I don't believe in manifestation, and I've started learning a lot more about it recently. There's a limit to manifestation. Manifestation, if you read about it, is very much about doing the work and putting yourself in the environment, serendipity, all those things. But yeah, I do think belief is key, and leading.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think that if we're talking about this here from a founder's point of view or from an entrepreneur's point of view, if you don't believe in the product, how are you going to sell it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So so if you don't have people there who believe in the product or believe in the idea of it and all that, how are you expecting them to sort of sell it? So that's sort of the way as to how I think you got to sort of look at it. And I think that's for anything, I mean, whether it's, you're working for whatever sort of business, I mean, it doesn't have to be just from a founder's perspective. It can be, if you're a salesman, for the old vacuum salesman, when they would go door to door knocking on the doors. I think that was a little bit before my time, but I would always see them on television.
I did door-to-door sales.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I would always, but I would always see them on telly, like the knocking on the door, and then doing the old vacuum selling, or the car selling, and
I did kitchen knives. I used to go into houses. I used to work for this company called Cutco, an American business that launched into the UK.
Yep.
And these knives are insane. They're very expensive.
Wow.
And I used to wander around wealthy suburbs, knocking on doors, going in, and back in those days, it was predominantly housewives, doing demos where I would cut 5 strips of leather with a steak knife, and the scissors. I was able to take a 2p coin, which is copper. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but they're quite big. And they teach you all this, obviously. And there was a trick where I could use the scissors to cut the coin and turn it into a corkscrew and then open a bottle of wine. There was some crazy ass things that we would do with those knives. So I remember those days.
From the founders that you've met, what are some good traits that you can actually sort of see? Like from the founders that you've spoken from, what are some good traits? And can you also sort of tell if a founder, I won't say is good or not, but whether or not that they have the potential, or if their idea has potential?
That, Kieran, I would be very, very wealthy, because that's what angel investing is, where you've got a founder with an idea and you're wanting to give them some money, and it's. I've tried to learn more about angel investing. It's a bit of a dark art. I have to say it's not something that I've had enough time to learn effectively. I've done some angel investing. I know some people who are very, very good at it. Can you tell if founder's been successful or not? I don't think you can. I mean, I think you can get a good idea of the ones who can't, but it's a whole mix of different things. And I think you can have a successful founder that doesn't do well in his first venture, second venture, or she does well in her fifth venture, or whatever it is, boy, girl, fifth company, first company. It's hard to know. I think, firstly, there's got to be a reason. Like you said, you got to believe in your product, right?
Yep.
Let me give you an example of what I mean. If you have 2 people building a prop tech, right, and one's building a prop tech to help building managers manage their businesses, and he thinks that his product is better than the current product on the market, that's okay, and he might do well. But if you've got another prop tech founder who has discovered something that annoys the shit out of every property manager, and his product solves that, that's a very different. You see the different angle? They're doing the same thing, but he's solving a problem. He's just building something that he thinks is better, or she is, or he, So I think that's important. Like, what's their reason for doing it? Work ethic is without question the number one thing. You just can't build a business without working your ass off. You can't now. I just don't believe it's possible.
Yeah.
So I think those are the 2 most important things. There are traits, obviously, but then there are traits of founders that are outliers. So it's a very difficult question to answer. You kind of, I'm a recruiter, right? So I've spent my entire life judging people, which is, when you put it that way, horrific. But it's true. I look through a million resumes, meet however many people, choose a few, select them, and then try and sell them into a client, and then at the same time try and sell the client back to them. It's all about judging.
Yeah.
And I have not found a secret sauce to doing it. I think, like anything that you do, you become more attuned to it with subtle things that you learn. You 10,000 hour rule or anything. Goodness knows how many people I've interviewed over the last 30 years, but I've definitely gotten better at it, and I have probably a greater intuition than others. But for me, in terms of traits with a founder, it would be not being a command and conquer kind of founder. It would be that person who is open-minded to, yes, these are my ideas, this is what I want to do, but I'm not always right kind of personality.
Yep.
Someone who is willing to work their absolute arse off.
Yep.
And someone who genuinely believes that they are trying to help someone. Like, I think any business that's going to succeed has to solve a problem and has to help people in a way.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's hit and miss. Now you can build businesses that are ridiculous, like, remember fidget spinners? They didn't really solve any problems, but someone made a lot of money out of them, but they're not really around anymore. So again, that's not a sustainable business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like, I still remember the fidget spinners. I mean, I think I
kind of liked them, actually.
Yeah, they were. They're actually very, very fun, to be honest. I mean,
I had kids at the time, or young kids, and they loved them. God, the amount of money I spent on fidget spinners for our children.
I think I've still got a very old one, but I can't actually remember. But you said there a strong work ethic, because I think I've always said this here tons of times there when people always ask me, Kieran, why do you want to go back into the startup world, or why do you like stay in the startup world? And I sort of say, you know, like for me, it's obviously like the hunger and obviously, you know, like I'm wanting to build something. But I always say to some people there that want to go into the startup world, I say it takes a certain type of person to want to do it because because there's going to be days where you're going to be working like 16 to 18 hour days, and you might not even be getting like in terms of sales, might not be getting anything done in terms of sales.
There's going to be plenty of those.
You know, there's going to be plenty of those, but then there might be days where you might do say 2 hours worth of work, and then you get, you know, like a week's worth of good pay, but those are going to be very few and far between. There's going to be more of the latter. So you've got to have to be able to want to be able to cope or be able to have that. I won't say mental steel, but you've got to be able to.
Design. I think it's design.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about habits, right? Habits create discipline.
Yes.
Discipline on its own is very difficult.
Yep.
Habits create discipline. Habits create sustainable discipline, and you need sustainable discipline to build a business.
Yes.
And you can't do it with willpower, just like you can't give up things with willpower, I don't believe. And that's why there are plenty of programs for alcohol and other drugs and so forth to help people across that. You need habits to help you create the discipline you need to build the business that you want to build. I think that's probably the biggest lesson any founder learns. I think a lot of founders go into it just, you know, pushing themselves really hard, and that's great, and you need that too. But you need more than that if you're going to keep building it, because that will run low. Your battery will run out on just pure willpower discipline.
100%, and that's where burnout, you know, comes into it. And you know, like I've spoken with someone in Melbourne, Natalie Tram, and we were talking about burnout, and that's a very big that's a very big thing there, and that's something that's something that to what could easily happen as well. But you did say that you are a recruiter. Now, I was actually, funnily enough, when I was at the Pillars yesterday, I was talking with David Kenny, and it was actually funnily enough because we were talking about this. Well, I actually
about
asked
me being a recruiter.
No, because about this question because I asked him. I said to him, David, have you got a question for me to ask Steve? And funnily enough, this was actually part of the question that I was actually going to ask you. So David actually. I think.
Well, David knows me well enough to come up with a pretty tricky question, I would imagine.
Well, the question is the question is more so about the future of recruiting. What are the skills that people sort of need to learn or get better at to get ahead, especially now that we're heading into an AI sort of world?
Good question.
Well, you can. Thank David a little bit for that there, since he was the one.
When you see him, I might see him before you. I think I might see him today, actually. But you can. I've been asked this question a lot. But I think right now we've got this opportunity in life where everything is going to change in a very short period of time.
Yep.
And you've got a lot of people who see it as the most exciting time ever, me being one of those.
Yep.
You've got a lot of people who are pretending it's not happening, and you've got a lot of people who see it as the end of civilization, right? So there's a big spectrum in there.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at it from purely a job perspective and how to make yourself relevant so that you're not sitting there with no job or skills or whatever, and we're about to actually launch a course about this. I'm about to do this with another founder friend of mine who's a very high-profile founder. We're building a product, and it's called AI Readiness.
Okay.
So if I look right now across, and recruitment's gone nuts at the moment, the whole world's hiring, which is completely counterintuitive when you think about where the world's at and the fact that we're supposed to be automating everything, but they are. So we'll just roll with that for now. But what is the biggest addition to every job description question is we want someone in this role, and it could be a marketing role, could be a product role, could be a tech role, could be an exec role, could be a sales role, could literally be finance role, any role.
Yeah.
They want someone to help them bring in more AI to help them automate the business more or speed the business up, make them more efficient, yada, yada, yada. So if you are looking to change jobs or if you're worried, you need to be embracing AI. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone needs to go on and build a agent on Manus or become a Claude coder or vibe coding or any of that stuff. If you want to do that, fantastic, go for it in your life. And it's easier than you think. But you need to start embracing it, and you need to start learning about it, and you start reading about it, and you need to start using it. And if you don't, then you are in danger of falling so far behind because it's moving so quickly.
Okay.
It will be very tricky to catch up.
So how do you learn those? I mean, so like, is it just as, I mean, I don't want to sound like this here because obviously like you are starting a course, but if someone there that doesn't say have access to the course or whatever, is it, don't want to sound very simple, but is it as simple as just typing into sort of like a chat GPT, how do I learn AI, or is it something like going to like articles, or is it
obviously being a content creator?
Yeah.
Get yourself on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of how-to videos on YouTube about everything in life is insane. But I think
That's true.
There's a lot of people out there. There's a guy called Dan Bartel who's really, really good at explaining things in a simple way. There's heaps of these people, right? I think you just got to start watching and reading and learning about it. Take some of your time in a day, even if it's half an hour a day, to watch a YouTube video, read something. Sure, you can chuck it in ChatGPT, understand what prompting is and how it works, understand how the different LLMs work, understand what LLM stands for.
Yep.
Really just the basics. Get your vocabulary in check with the terminology so you can have a conversation about it. And look at what's happening in your world. So if you're an accounts payable person, say, go on to ChatGPT, Claude, a Gemini, whatever it is, and ask it, say, what's happening in AI world around accounts payable? What are we seeing? What is it doing? What parts of the job are being skilled? What parts of, just start exploring it, particularly about what you want to do. And you don't need to be able to do anything. But you need to start to learn what's happening, what's going on, so you've got an opinion and you can talk about it in a knowledgeable way. Now, if you're doing that, that's the first step, right? That's the number one step. If you're not doing that, I think you're in trouble.
Okay.
If you're enjoying that, and you will, because it's fascinating.
Yeah,
and it really is. And I'm not a technology guy. I can't code.
Yeah, me neither. I can't code to save my life.
I find technology fascinating, but I find this, which is the changing of our entire world again.
Yeah.
And I, unfortunately, are old enough to remember when the internet came in, and I remember that. And that was wild. This is wilder.
I think I was a little bit.
You were definitely way too young.
But I do remember. The plugging into the phone in
dial up.
The dial up because there was one time there when my grandfather, when me and Mum were on the internet, and my grandfather picked up the phone to actually call to see what time he had.
It was making that awful noise.
And all that there. And it was making that awful noise and the internet got cut off.
I remember when fax machines were a wonder. So let's not get into this competition. But I think once you've got to the vocabulary, understanding, opinion, you'll naturally start to try things. And you can start trying things. Start trying prompting. Start trying vibe coding if you want. Start exploring. Start talking to your ChatGPT if you want.
Okay.
Now, I think a key thing here that a lot of people forget, if you have got a standard ChatGPT Claude account and everything you put in there is going out to the world, it's not private, right?
Oh, wow.
So it is available. So be careful what you put in about your company, because I mean, even though this hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. People are putting all this information about their businesses, their companies, their roles into these LLMs, and it's not that it's gone. Then it's out there, right? It's not yours. You don't belong to that. That's gone to whichever company that you're using. So be wary of that.
Jeez.
But I think then start playing around with it, and then maybe go on YouTube and say, I want to learn how to prompt effectively, and it's literally as simple as that. You can learn how to do anything really quickly. The beautiful thing about AI is it's incredibly simple to do so many different things.
Yeah.
But I would learn about how you can sort of start to think about how you can improve your job. So then you can get to the point where you go, okay, well, what do I hate about my job? What drives me nuts? Yeah. Start talking to whichever AI you want, about what could be done to make that better. Then when you go in for an interview, or you go and have your review, or you just have a catch up, you could say, hey, this is such a bottleneck for us. Potentially we could, and just potentially is a key word, we could use AI to solve that problem with this. Suddenly you're becoming a much more valuable employee because you're looking to the future, right?
Yeah.
Rather than sticking your head in the sand. That is the simplest thing I would suggest to anybody. There's a lot more, and we can talk about this for hours. But, in answer to your question, those are the two simplest things you can do. And I think I hope most people are.
Yeah.
Just start. It's like starting a business.
Yeah.
Just start. But there's no scariness in this. It's not going to cost you anything. You can use the free models. Just get into it.
Yeah. I mean, same with this podcast. I mean, when I started this podcast, obviously it was a different name back then, but I did this in 2024, midway through.
What did you call it then?
I called it Depth Exchange, to be
I like that name.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started that there to begin with because, I wanted it and mind you, the ethos of it is still the same, where it's I want to have a conversation with people, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation, and that was sort of one of the pillars and the ethos, and one of the things there to what I've always sort of said there to people, because people have always sort of said to me, oh, why? I mean, like, you can ask anybody to come on your podcast, but I always sort of say this here, and this is sort of one of my ethoses is do I want to have a conversation with you? That's checkbox
That's
one.
key.
Do I want to have another conversation with you? If I do want to have another conversation with you, meaning that I want to have you back on after the first episode,
Yep.
then tick.
Second episodes are great.
Yeah.
I've done a lot in my show. They're really cool.
Yeah, that's the only two check boxes for me.
Well, we're not at the end of this, so I'm not going to ask you whether I've ticked box 2 yet.
You certainly have. You certainly have there checked box 2 there, Steve. But you said there with AI as to how that there are people there that see it as very, very innovative and very much that they want to, that it's one of the best things or what.
I'm a natural optimist.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's me as well. But then you then sort of see people in regards to where they stick their head in the sand. I can think of a few. I'm not gonna say, but there are a few people out there, big names out there that have put their heads in the sand. And then there are people there that just thinking that the world's going to end. I've got to ask, like, where do you see AI in 5 years' time? And especially,
it's a big question.
And especially when it comes to from a recruitment perspective, because I heard this. Could have been a video because I was watching Sky News a little bit, and I saw Joe Hockey on there at one time, and he said there that by 2030 with AI, it's going to get unemployment rate's going to go up to 15%. And that's why he was saying that, that's the likes of where Elon Musk is saying that we should be having like a universal wage and all that sort of stuff there. Mm-hmm. I want to know from a recruiter's perspective, and I want to know from your perspective, by 2030 or with the way as how AI is advancing, for me, I'm not really 100% certain if we are going to be getting to 15% unemployment, but I want to know, especially from you, from a recruiter, is it possible, or do we think it is going to rise a little bit, or do we think it is going to just the employment rate is still going to be the status quo? It's just a matter of upskilling the people. It's just going to get rid of some of those mundane jobs.
I don't think anyone knows. Look, I mean, I do believe that by 2030, if you want to take that timeline, no jobs will look the same. Nothing will look the same.
Oh, wow.
Now, does that mean we'll have more jobs, less jobs? I really don't know. We could have a lot less jobs. We potentially could. We could have a lot more jobs that are just very different. Or we could have exactly the same. My feeling is there will be a lot less jobs.
Okay.
But I feel there'll be other things to do to generate income.
Okay.
One thing I do not believe will happen is universal income.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We could have cured starvation a long time ago, easily as a globe, and we have not. So why all of a sudden are we going to start paying everybody a wage because they lost their jobs? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a stupid thing to say. I don't know why people talk about
it. Yeah, and the reason that's why I'm also a little bit on the pushback for it there is you need to have, you got to have a put it in business terms from a government perspective, you got to have revenue to be able to actually give everybody a universal wage. So does that mean what?
Look, I think the same amount of money is going to be knocking around. It's just whose hands it in and how it's moving around. But I mean, with the whole job thing, it really depends whether they get AI to self-aware, if you want to use that terminology. No one knows what the hell happens when that happens, right? I mean, there's theories of, it wiping us out. There's theories of it like leaving the planet because we're so insignificant. There's theories of it just leaving us alone, like we leave ants alone because they don't bother us, because it's so much more intelligent. There's so many different theories. And you need all these theories, right? I lean towards the positive because that's my nature, but I need people in my life who lean towards the negative as well, because I think that no one has a clue. And I think anything is actually possible, which is what makes it so exciting, even if some of them are terrifying. From a jobs perspective, I do believe that way more than 50% of jobs will look completely different.
Okay.
I do believe unemployment will go up, and I do believe then we will find ways to combat that. How? I don't know. I think we'll be doing very different things. What I hope for is that people who are doing things like, I guess, more mundane roles that are very easy to do and are probably far more intelligent than they are sort of credited for in terms of the jobs they're doing, are doing things that are challenging them more and making them happier. There's a lot of people who hate their jobs.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that goes. I hope there aren't a lot of people who hate their jobs anymore, because anything that we hate is being done by the AI. I'm hoping that we redirect our energies into saving this planet before we completely stuff it up, because the energy requirements of where we're going are also going to have massive impacts.
Yep.
So there's a lot of human capital energy that we could redirect into other things that could be very beneficial to humankind.
Yep.
It depends on sickness, right? We could have people who are working a lot longer and a lot less sick. We could have robots. It's wild, right?
Yeah.
But if you have robots, who's going to service robots? Probably other robots.
Yeah.
So, the arguments can go left, right, and center. I just think by 2030, it will look totally different, but not like a different world. By 2040, God knows. I'll be knocking on 70, and who knows? I might have regrown all my organs and be looking like I'm 22. But I think then that's a length of time you can't imagine.
Yep.
But I think people shouldn't be scared about that, because if I go back to, like I said, when fax machines were being created, no one ever imagined we'd have a mobile phone that does what. It's completely out of our realms of possibility.
Yeah, 100%.
We could not have thought, oh my God, I know what's going to happen. There's going to be a whole bunch of people on TikTok for hours every day. You just couldn't have seen that. And it's the same here. We can't see what's coming. There's no way. So I think we should stop worrying about it and start worrying about what's going on right now and what we can do. And I think in terms of the rail guards and all the rest of it, we don't have control over that. Whether it will ever become self-aware, if that's possible, everyone believes it is. Maybe it's not even possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think we've got to roll with what we've got, because it's moving too fast to try and imagine where it's going.
Okay, so if it is moving too fast and everything there, how do we try and get
by?
Yeah,
day by day.
or at least or at least try and because if it is going to be more and more out there, more and more faster, or more and more better than is there, is there a way for us to at least sort of bridge the gap a little bit, like going forward? I mean, or is the bridge just going to between us and potentially AI, or is this AI just going to?
There's no chance. I mean,
no chance.
Even in 3 years, AI will be a million times more intelligent than we are. There's you can't change that. You forget that.
Yeah.
But it can't do a lot of things we can do.
Yeah.
And unless he reaches this self-awareness that we keep talking about, it will never be able to do things that we can do. But maybe it will.
Yeah.
But right now it can't, and right now there's no date for it. Not that we know of. Maybe there's 4 or 5 other people in the world who know differently right now, but we don't know that. Yeah. So I think we need to just work on what we can do, where our strengths are, the deep creative thinking that we can do. Humans can come up with things that never existed.
Yeah.
AI can work with what's previously done and make a decision on that, but it can't create something out of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually 100% agree with that. I think that but I also would think there as well is that there's also got to be a human factor, and that's kind of where I think that you're saying there, if it becomes self-aware, that's
but what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Does it mean that it makes its own decisions? Okay. But does that mean it can create things? I don't. Again,
we don't know.
You just don't know. It's impossible to think about it. I did. To try and give myself, I like to give myself, because I'm ridiculously optimistic, I try and give myself a sort of more well-rounded view. So about maybe 2-3 months ago, every night, I tend to watch television for about 40 minutes before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Because I'll typically work till 10:30 at night. I used to work a lot later. I now don't do that anymore. And I need to switch my brain off, so I'll go and watch something inane on television, right? And it helps. Okay. And then I go straight to sleep.
Yep.
So what I did about 2-3 months ago is, rather than watching something inane, I decided to go onto YouTube and watch for 1 week videos that said it was going to be the best thing. For 1 week, videos that were just trying to explore what could happen. For 1 week, that it said, told it was going to wipe us out and kill us, just to try and get, and sort of kept sort of rotating through these different opinions.
Yeah.
And none of them make any more sense than the other. They're all completely feasible. They're all completely possible. I got to say, I did have some pretty big nightmares after the ones where they said they were going to kill us. After about 3 nights of that, I was getting pretty down. But I just think keeping ourselves informed as much as possible is really the only thing to do, and it's genuinely interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think, and this is just one last thing there before I get onto the nudge group and the pillars and whatnot on AI, should the government be trying to look at it, or is this more
The Australian government?
Yes, the Australian government,
I
or
don't
is
wanna
this,
talk about the
or is
Australian
it, or
government.
is this more that if the government's not going to be doing anything about it, we should be trying to do something?
The government hasn't been able to keep up with the pace of the changes of immigration with population. The
Yep.
chances of them even remotely keeping up with what's going on in AI are absolutely zero. It's about the only thing I'm certain of in life.
Yeah.
Our Australian government goes from worse to worse to worse the longer I live here. Or maybe it's me, I'm not sure. So, I mean, look, of course they need to be doing things. They need to be putting in new legislation. They need to be trying to deal with it. But the chances of them doing things that are effective and the chances of them getting it wrong, I mean, we all know where we're going.
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, there's probably more chances of Australia winning the World Cup than the FIFA World Cup than the.
I would bet on that more than I would bet on the government.
Yeah, me too with that there. So you formed Nudge Group, and also I have had a look at some of your videos there where it's especially the give it a nudge. I really do actually like the the pun on words. What made you want to start like Nudge Group and as well as also even the Give It a Nudge podcast?
I started. I built two businesses, both recruitment businesses, which I'd sold. Right. So
Yep.
First one was in digital when digital was new. We were talking about what does digital mean back then, and it was just like we're talking about what AI is. So that was when we started a digital recruitment agency, and that was bought out by a listed business 7 years later.
Oh wow!
Which I wish I'd never sold it, to be honest. But when you're young and someone offers you money, you get bedazzled. I then had a friend who was building a recruitment business in the government space, and he was very good at operations and finance, but he wasn't a great people person.
Okay.
And so he was struggling to scale it because of his own staff. So I bought 50% of that business off him, and we scaled that from 1 million to 50 million.
Wow.
And we had New South Wales government contractors and some federal government contractors, and then
Wow.
I sold my half back to him. I won't go into the story as to why, because it's a whole podcast in itself. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to do another recruitment business. But I came up with all these stupid harebrained ideas, none of which I did, thank the Lord, and just said, look, you know how to do recruitment. It's what you're good at. Just do it in something that's interesting to you. So I decided to do it in startups. We'd done some startup recruitment in my other companies, and I didn't think we'd done a great job. It's very different.
Yep.
Startups completely different, whether they're Series A, pre-seed, B, D, E, private equity, whatever it is. You can't put the same person into Combank as you can into a startup, but most recruiters didn't realize that. So we just did startups and scale-ups. Now, we did that just before COVID. COVID came along, startups and scale-ups exploded because everybody suddenly needed to go online. Cloud businesses went nuts. SaaS companies went nuts. So it was great timing.
And working from home was nuts
Working
as well.
from home. So we did that literally 6 months before COVID. Excuse me. And there was no candidates around. It was just such a tight job market back then. And we couldn't get people to leave a perfectly good job to go and work for a startup. And this was back in the day when startups weren't particularly popular. And everyone gets, 9 out of 10 startups will fail, so why would I leave my job to go and work with them? Which isn't true, by the way, but that was a fair point. So I was like, well, what are we going to do? Because we can't fill any of these jobs. So I said, well, we need them to buy into the business. We need them to buy into the founder. Because if I can get people in front of these founders, then they want to work for them. It was just getting them there. So I said, well, let's just do a podcast. Let's do a video podcast. And let's go full in. And podcast was just begin to take off. Let's go full in. We'll go completely video.
Yep.
We'll go high-end video. We'll go massive production level because we're going to use this to attract people to these jobs. And that's why we started it.
Modern wisdom style.
It's just a stupid idea. And it worked really, really well. And I think what we learned over time, so it was never designed to be a podcast. It was a recruitment tool.
Oh, wow.
We put it out there because why not? But it was a recruitment tool. It was just founders telling their stories. We would then use snippets of that to hook candidates on LinkedIn, to get them to talk to us, to get them to then buy in. And we still do what is known as content-driven recruitment, which I don't see many other people doing. It's by far the most powerful thing I've ever discovered in my recruitment career. We've been doing it for 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
And we've just gotten better at it and learnt more about it, and it's been refined over and over and over again. And it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
One of the next phases of Nudge is actually starting to teach larger teams how to do it themselves.
Wow.
I don't really want to scale another big recruitment business.
Yeah.
So I'd rather take everything that we've learned and teach I guess, internal teams, potentially other recruiters, how to do content recruitment really well, because we've spent, the better part of 5 years refining it to what it is now.
And even just teach the next generation as well.
Well, yeah, but no one wants to be a recruiter anymore. And
Yeah.
who knows what will happen to that industry. But and then off the back of that, I loved content. I just loved doing it. We went from doing 12 episodes in a row in a warehouse because I had no money. So I would hire a warehouse for a day and film 12 hours straight.
Whoa.
Eat lots of cupcakes with the nudge group written on them. And then we'd use them. So we started out, and then we started using a better studio. And then it was like becoming prohibitive because it was so expensive because we had such high production value. So then we built our own studio. And then other people wanted to use their own studio.
Oh.
And then now we have a full production company, and we do documentaries, we do behind-the-scenes documentaries, we do a lot of corporate content, we do CEO, founder, personal branding, we manage podcasts for like 10 other people. We have 3 podcasts of our own. We do events. We just did a documentary in Papua New Guinea. Like, we've built it, everything I've done in my life is opportunistic as opposed to strategic.
Yeah.
Things tend to happen to me. And the production company is going to eclipse the recruitment business, probably very close to now already.
Oh, wow.
It's just grown at an exponential rate. We still obviously use it for recruitment, but the desire to create content at a high level now is extraordinary.
100%.
We've got, you've seen the studios in online. Obviously, you've not been, but the level of equipment we have, probably nearly $750,000 worth of equipment, 3 studios, lighting, just insane. Right?
I saw the episode that you did there with David Kenny, but I also saw, I think, a debate that David did with three other people, and
that would have been I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
I don't think it was that one. I think it was more about moving to the should founders be moving to the US,
Okay,
and staying here in Australia, or either stay here in Australia or moving to the US.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was that debate, and I was just looking. I was like, "Oh wow, that studio looks absolutely gorgeous."
And we go off site. I mean, I'd say half the stuff we do, we're very mobile. We have a whole kit. We can go anywhere.
Oh wow.
We go up and down the country. We do all sorts of things. So we've been filming a lot of military startups, which is fascinating, right?
Really?
I don't know how we hooked into that, but we've now got all this content of things in the middle of nowhere. We've been out to some really incredible places, and I've loved this. This has just been. This for me is something that I have just become quite obsessed with.
Yeah,
I record probably 5 hours a week of content now, just around me, Nudge, Pillars, podcasts.
Wow.
Just we're always recording, and then obviously we've got all of our customers, which grows every week.
Sounds like it sounds very fascinating because to me as soon as because I saw David's 2 episodes, and I was just like going like wow, like the video one, I was like going wow, that there looks absolutely like gorgeous and all that sort of stuff.
It's scientific, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got there's a new producer we have. She's amazing, and her ability to understand what's happening with the algorithms, which constantly change. What hooks are working, what hooks aren't working, what kind of B-roll. There's such a science to it, and it's so platform specific. What's working on LinkedIn might not work on TikTok, that might not work on Instagram. It's a huge, complex business now, and you don't just film and pump it up. And even in our studio with all of our fancy cameras and equipment, we still need to redo all the sound. We still need to do color grading. We still need, it's not as simple as sending it off to India or AI for editing. Sure, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
But you do not get the same end product. Now, sometimes you don't want the same end product, and I would suggest if anyone is looking for something a bit rough and ready, and sometimes a bit rough and ready works, you just use your iPhone. You don't need anything else. But if you're doing it in a studio, I think taking the time, we edit all our stuff here ourselves. We do all our own color grading. We do it's all done. We may use AI to test things, but we'd never put out a finished product that was done by AI.
Oh wow, that just looks absolute. That just actually sounds really, really cool. We might have to actually, because what I do want to try and do is in the future is actually have an episode with you and David in the same room to actually even have a.
That could be a long episode.
Yeah, because what I want to try and do is as we spoke off air is that I want to turn obviously into video format as well in the future. I'd love to even just have you and David in an episode, even just talking as we were talking today a bit about AI and all that. So I mean, like there's something there. Might have to do that nudge group or something there. But in the pillars, I mean, this was this is actually a quote that I actually got there from Sky News. I think apparently this is what you said.
Oh, I did do an interview with Sky News.
Yes,
I remember now.
there's a lot of places to help you be successful. There's a lot of places to meet other founders, but once you achieve something, there was nowhere to go to hang out with other successful people. That's what it said there on the article. But can I actually say this here now? Like, I've been to the Pillars now twice, and both times there, walking up the stairs and then just seeing that that glass.
The stained glass windows. I mean, they're massive.
Like that, just like. But can I say this now? That there just took my breath away, and then walking to the Pillars, it's very very. I just can't believe like it. It is breathtaking. It's almost, it makes me feel like I'm in a high end like Wolf of Wall Street type of sort of thing there.
God, I hope it's not quite that one. I mean, in Australia, that is one of the oldest buildings around. Like, 1847. You know, I'm British. That's not that long at all. My parents' house was built about 400 years before that. But
how did you get into get roped into like forming like the Pillars, and then how did you even get the first Australia Bank? Because that's what it was called.
It was the first ever bank in Australia, the National Savings Bank. I didn't get roped into it. Look, it's having come from London and travelled quite a lot. Yeah, I have used private clubs. I love private clubs. I think they're amazing. Now, the private club scene in Australia, if you go back, is pretty dire. And there's a couple of reasons for that. You know, you've got, obviously, the Australian, the RAC club. They have very loyal, very large member bases who are probably slightly on the more mature age. And they don't want to change, and they've got no reason to change, and they offer a service. But for anyone younger, I didn't feel like there was anything. And what I've discovered, I didn't discover this until maybe a few years ago, is that I think it was 1987. Until 1987, you weren't allowed to make any money as a private club. So no one started any. That's why there aren't any, because it was you had to be non-for-profit.
Oh, wow.
And they changed the law, but I don't think they really made a big thing about it. So no one ever really started any. So I've been members of networking clubs, and I don't mind those, and they helped me a lot in my career. But I didn't want a networking club. I didn't want a club where I call it forced networking. I didn't want a club where I was put in groups with people that someone else decided that I would hang out with for periods of time. Look, there's a lot of positivities about those things. They really are, and they help me a lot. And I don't have anything against them in any way at all, and I think they offer an incredible service. But that wasn't what I wanted to build. You know, I wanted a hospitality-first offering. It wasn't a networking club. Sure, networking happens. Networking happens in restaurants. Networking happens in bars. It's not a networking club. It was a home for people to go, as I put it there, that have reached a certain level of success. Now, that doesn't make it elitist, and I think I've been misunderstood on that. Yeah. What I was trying to get across is if you look at the Australian ecosystem, particularly startups, scale-ups, so forth, there's lots of, there's Tankstream Labs, there's the Commons, there's WeWorks, there's all these different areas, right? And a lot of them build really strong communities, and they're incredible. Yeah. But those are usually people trying to build something, usually the first thing they're trying to build. Once someone's done that once and exited, or if they're running a relatively successful business, they'll probably have their own office, so they're not going to be in those spaces. Yeah. Or they can't go into those spaces if they've had any kind of high-profile effort, because everybody wants to talk to them about how they achieved it. So they're not really getting anything out of it. They're giving, and they should still do that, but it's not a daily practice. Yeah. So I wanted somewhere to go where there was no tall poppy syndrome, which is still alive and well in this country. Which for anyone who doesn't know is when people cut people down for being successful. So there was no tall poppy syndrome, but there was a lot of other people who had succeeded to a level or were succeeding. And they can hang out, and we put on a variety of things for them to do. And through that, they will meet other people. And through that, they will develop friendships, which is networking, if you want to call that. And through that, they will go and create new things on their own rather than sitting at home. I think I said somewhere in that article, if I remember rightly, that I said it was lonely being successful. Yes. Hopefully not anymore, or something like that. Yes. And that's the idea. And, you look at the Pillars, right? It's a huge building. It's on 4 levels. You've got restaurants in there. You've got cafes in there. You've got a workspace in there. You've got meeting rooms. You've got outdoor areas. You've got places where you can smoke cigars. You've got places where you can listen to DJs and live bands. You've got wellness where you can go in a sauna, or you can go into a cold plunge or sit in front of a red light lamp. There's areas where you can, boardrooms where you can hire for meetings. There's bars. There's wine rooms. There's a vault underneath where you can play poker. And wow. There's so many different things, right? And we're putting on maybe 10 to 15 events every week. Wow. So the programming is extensive. Now, some of that is member events, but a lot of that is our own. And It could be a backgammon night or something like, or a Pareto night, right? It could be an alcoholic night in terms of it could be a whiskey tasting or a wine tasting or a gin tasting. It could be a certain type of food night. It could be an Italian night or something like that. It could be someone talking about drone warfare, or it could be someone talking about quantum computing from a technology. We have a lot of celebrities come in who give us talks. We had Peter Hillary, so Edmund Hillary's son, talking about the ability to climb mountains. We've had Mark Philippousis is coming in, talking about his career. We had Michael Checker coming in, talking about managing rugby teams. There's all that side of it. There's just so many things going on.
Yeah.
And, we've got an amazing event that people are so obsessed with because we have a lot of brands who want to come in. So IWC are going to teach you how to make a watch. You get to make your own IWC watch. I mean, that's insane, right?
Wow.
We take a big group of members down to the Australian Open Tennis. We're partnered with quite a few charities. We're partnered with one called the Commando Welfare Trust. We've taken people on Black Hawk helicopters and flown them out to Holsworthy. All these different experiences. So and there's a lot of artwork in our building. We have an art curator who does that. So we have art tours, and then we have artists coming in and giving tours, and we have lectures about how to do art in different ways. We've got longevity talks going on, like literally anything you can think of, right? We've got it happening.
Wow.
So what happens is, one, it gives people things to do, but it gives people reasons to connect over something that they love.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a second home. And people come in an average of 3 times a week, and they hang out and they do all sorts of different things. They usually join for one reason. It could be they're joining because they want a lunch place or a bar where they can have meetings. It could be they want the wellness. It could be they want the workspace. And they always say they're not going to use the other things. They always end up using it all. And you get this incredible community that we've managed to create, which sits at about 350 people now.
Wow.
We'll tap it out at about 550, which I think we'll hit this year. We're signing up 10, 15 people every month.
Wow, that's.
And they're building things together and starting companies together and doing stuff together and starting. We have a pickleball club now as well, where they go off and play pickleball. People are creating their own things from within the community, which is exactly what you want. All we've done is create a space and make it conducive for them. And it's been quite mind-blowing. And I wanted to do that. I certainly, when you said roped into, this was something I wanted to do. Oh, wow. But at the same time, it wasn't something I actually thought would happen. Yeah. I was obviously doing all my other businesses, and I was looking at buildings for 18 months. I looked at over 80 properties over 18 months before we found that building.
Oh, wow.
And then we had to get that building. I still don't understand why they gave that building to 4 guys with no hospitality experience, but they did. And then we built what we built. Luckily, we've got people running it now who know how to run hospitality. But it's been a hell of a journey, and I think it's maybe a great example of believing you can do something even when there's absolutely no right or reason that you should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, But you just said it there, You just said it there, that it's a place there where being successful, but it's also, not being successful, but for people there to just sort of gather, be in their own group, because I think when people, especially with me, when I went to like networking events, I think there is that community. There is that community there, but then there are some times there when there are very successful ones. You see a lot of people go off and more so want to try and talk with the most successful ones, and so it does become very, very hard. But I think when you find a place where everybody's almost like, okay, yep, look, you know what, same playing field, they can do whatever they can.
It's not even the same playing field because there's a real. I mean, we've got celebrities in there, we've got billionaires in there, and then we've got people who sold their first business who were nowhere near that. It's not necessarily the same level. It's just people who understand that it's a space for everyone to go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a space for you to run up to people. Or, there are rules in private clubs, right?
Yeah.
And we have less than most because we're an Australian club. We're not a British club or an Asian club or a US club. But it's like-minded, I think, is the right word.
Yeah, that's
the key because it's not. Like I said, it's anything but elitist. And our average age is 39, and we sit at like 40% women, which is very unusual for private clubs, very purposeful. We went after that. We wanted that. I wasn't expecting such a young age, which I think it's amazing that we have that.
Yeah.
But we've got members who are 22, and we've got members who are 70. So it goes across the whole ballpark. It's just a really incredible community of people.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, one of the things there, I mean, like, as you said there with women, I mean, I actually listened to Mr. Wonderful in Shark Tank, but he always sort of said in one of his videos is surround yourself with good women, because they apparently from all the successful businesses that he's been a part of, they've been surrounded by good women in the sense of they are very intelligent to actually sort of surround there. So the fact that you're saying there that 40% of them there are women, like that there just doesn't surprise me.
Most of the entrepreneurs are women.
Yeah.
Interesting. If you it's made up of a lot of family offices and investors, people like David. David's obviously a member. A lot of entrepreneurs, current CEOs, a few bankers and lawyers because they get everywhere.
Yep.
Celebrities, sports stars. It's a really eclectic group, artists and so forth. But it's interesting if you look at the sort of successful entrepreneurs. There's a lot of successful female entrepreneurs and successful female CEOs we have in. And they are ballers. A lot of them, I tell you, they've got their own. They've created their own chat group.
Oh wow!
Within the club, they did that off their own back, and and they've got nearly everyone on it, which is astounding. But it's just going all day. Like there's a real sense of community for that in there. And we've got other chat groups. We've got a wine lovers, golf lovers, all that kind of stuff. But I just find that fascinating that just happened. We didn't suggest that. It just happened on its own, and I love that about it.
Yeah, I mean, like especially because like with me, because I grew up with. I think 5 women in my household. Like my mum raised me as a single mother. My grandmother also helped raise me, and same with my auntie. So I sort of already knew it was a bit like that. So that's kind of where I was just like going, yep, you know what, like surround yourself there by good women. So 100%. And the fact that you're saying there that like you're going to be trying to cap it off at 550 or 500 there with the pillars that they just sort of sound like, to be honest, like the way how you guys are growing, it's like
we'll open another site. Like we're looking at another site in Sydney potentially for a more health wellness. We're looking at a site interstate. We also have 100 reciprocal clubs around the world that we've done deals with.
Oh,
so
wow.
When you're traveling, there's always clubs you can go to. That's a big selling point. People really love that.
Wow.
So I mean, there's all sorts of growth ideas and plans, but again. The key thing is to make sure we protect and service our current community and grow at the right rate, and make sure we keep giving them things that they don't expect.
Yeah, as well as also keeping, pardon the pun, but keeping the key pillars of the pillars.
Absolutely. Well, it's got 21 pillars on the building, which is where the name came from, right?
But keeping the key pillars of the pillars. Pardon the pun, actually staying around and making sure that it is a place where, that people don't get lonely, but also,
we have different tiers in there. So we've got lifetime members already, which is amazing. We've got foundation members, founding members, we've got interstate members, we've got regional memberships, we've got under 35 memberships. Like there's even a sort of more social membership that was introduced recently. There's a lot of different tiers for people who want to experience it. You don't have to come all in.
Yep.
Everyone always does eventually, but there's lots of options.
Wow. Well, I mean, Steve, like, to be honest, this conversation I feel like can just go on for like hours on end because I'm actually loving this conversation, to be honest, because I'm absolutely loving this. I've got to get you back on here again another time, but this sort of leads towards the back end of the podcast.
Is this my surprise question?
Yes, this is the surprise question. I always make sure, to be honest, Steve, you're actually sort of the first guest, other than my very, very first guest, and whatnot, because I didn't have a question for him, but you're the first guest that I haven't actually told the question to because you just sort of said there. So
I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready.
So the question is from my previous guest, which was Tia, who founded Anaxium.
Mm-hmm.
Tia said, looking back, which setback or near failure shaped your success the most, and what would you want someone else facing the same moment to know?
Wow, because there's so many. Look, I think probably the thing that's impacted me the most was when if you look at my first 2 businesses, I had business partners.
Yep.
And as with all business partner relationships, there can be tension.
Yep.
Neither of mine ended fantastically. Actually, no, the first one ended fine. We still talk. It ended partly because there was beginning tension, I think, and that's why we ended up selling the business. But it wasn't bad. The second one ended particularly badly, and so I decided not to have any business partners in Nudge.
Oh wow!
And I think believing that I could probably do the bulk of it, and I I couldn't. And then again, you know, with some of my other businesses that I've got now, particularly Pillars, I've got co-founders, and it really reminded me the power of co-founders. So I think, the thing that I've probably learned, or setback I've learned the most, is that when you have had some level of success, believing that you can do it all on your own, your ego does get pumped up a little.
Yep.
As much as you might try, and people around you can hit you in the face and tell you not to, it does. And I think when you realize where your weaknesses really are, it makes you 500 times stronger than you were before.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean,
it's not fun though.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's
a punch in the face and the gut and the head and the knee and a kick. And
it is a kick.
And I made some massive mistakes and they cost me a lot. Right. So yeah, that would be the answer to that question.
Wow. I mean, so now this is where Steve, I'll let you ask my next guest a question.
So I thought we'd keep it topical, right, based off where we've been going.
Yeah.
And I did come up with this as I walked in this because you reminded me I had to do one and I hadn't prepared. I hadn't even thought about it. So just before we came on air, I thought about this. So I think whoever it is, I think you need to look them dead in the eye, right? Don't let them waver and say, whoever, tell me what you personally have done to get yourself AI ready. And if you've got children, what have you done to help sure they are AI ready? And it'll either be a lot or it'll be nothing, I reckon, but we'll see.
That's gonna be a very good one.
Remember, you got to look them in the eye.
Yes.
If they start shifting their eyes around, you got to pull them back.
Yeah, well, that is true. That is definitely true. I mean, I think for me to get myself AI ready, I mean, like I do look at AI and I do, look at. I do watch a few videos.
But get them to be really specific. Yeah. Otherwise, they could give you a wishy-washy answer, which isn't necessarily... Yeah. Like, if they say, I've watched some YouTube videos. Say, which ones? Yeah. Who was the person? Well, how much did you watch? If it's a 20-minute video, did you watch 1 minute? Or did you watch all 20?
My couple of videos that I have watched, I've watched the Stephen of Diary of a CEO when they were talking about the Google AI, when they were talking about the AI one. That's a
pretty terrifying one from
memory. That one actually got me into it a little bit more. And then I started listening to a few there. And more so looking at some certain prompts in regards to online, especially on like LinkedIn, Facebook, and all these other social medias on like how to use prompts. So like those post ones. But I do think that after this conversation, I'm definitely going to be looking at a lot more.
Well, it changes week to week.
It does,
and this is why you can't get too like. One of the mistakes I made at the beginning was I tried to get too deep into things.
Yeah,
and then I got busy for 2 weeks, and I came back, and then everything changed. So you can't get too deep into stuff unless you're actually working in it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Well, this there concludes the episode. Steve Grace, thanks again for agreeing to come on. And
pleasure.
You're welcome back anytime. I want to have you back. To be honest, I want to have you back on either in a podcast episode like this here, or just even a debate there with you and David, and we can talk about AI. We can make it we can even make it a 3-hour video combination between between Nudge
feature film.
Yeah. Well, we can make it a feature film there between Epic Execution, Nudge, and myself. We can do it like that there and all that sort of stuff there. But yeah, you're welcome back.
We can call it an epic nudge.
Yes, an epic nudge. But but thanks again for agreeing to come on, Steve, and it was a pleasure to have you on. And that there concludes the podcast, and I'll speak to everyone next time.
Thank you.